What if every word you whispered to heaven carried the power to open doors, silence armies, heal the sick, and unleash miracles? The Bible reveals that prayer is not empty ritual. It is the weapon that bridges eternity and earth. From the very beginning, prayer has been more than words. It is communion with the living God. In Eden, Adam walked with the Creator in perfect intimacy. Sin shattered that fellowship, but prayer became the bridge between fallen humanity and a holy God. Abraham interceded for Sodom, and God listened. Jacob wrestled with God all night in prayer and was transformed. Moses spoke with God face to face as a man speaks with his friend. Prayer has always been the heartbeat of heaven, the language of faith, the oxygen of the soul. When Jesus walked the earth, he lived a life saturated in prayer, in the wilderness, on mountaintops, in gardens at night. The Son of God sought the Father's presence. His disciples never asked, "Teach us to preach," or "Teach us to do miracles." They begged, "Lord, teach us to pray." He gave them the greatest model, the Lord's Prayer. In it we find worship of God as Father, longing for his kingdom, daily dependence on his provision, forgiveness that heals and restores, deliverance from evil. And in Gethsemane, when his sweat became like drops of blood, he showed us that prayer is the battlefield where victory is won before the cross is carried. Throughout the Bible, prayer changes destinies. Moses lifted his hands and Israel prevailed against Amalek. Hannah cried out, and Samuel was born, a prophet who anointed kings. Elijah prayed, and fire fell from heaven on Mount Carmel. He prayed again, and rain returned after years of drought. James declares, "The prayer of a righteous man is powerful and effective." This is not poetry, it is divine reality. When the church prayed for Peter in prison, an angel broke his chains. When Paul and Silas prayed at midnight, the prison shook, doors flew open, and a jailer found salvation. The Bible unveils a hidden war. Daniel prayed, and an angel came with the answer, but was resisted by dark forces for 21 days, until Michael, the archangel, came to help. Prayer moves angels into battle. It dismantles demonic resistance. Ephesians 6 speaks of the armor of God, but the final weapon is prayer. Pray in the Spirit on all occasions with all kinds of prayers and requests. Prayer is not the background. It is the fire that powers the armor, the command center where battles are won. Jericho's walls didn't fall by swords, but by faith, obedience, and the sound of a people crying out. Hell trembles when God's people bend their knees. Prayer never dies. Revelation describes golden bowls full of incense, the prayers of the saints. Every cry, every tear, every whispered plea is gathered in heaven. Prayer is not monologue, it is communion. It doesn't just change circumstances, it transforms the one who prays. In Gethsemane, Jesus declared, "Not my will, but yours be done." Prayer aligns human will with divine destiny. To pray is to enter the throne room, to walk where angels worship, to bring heaven's atmosphere down to earth. Paul reveals that the Spirit himself intercedes for us with groans too deep for words. This means that prayer is not merely human effort. It is heaven praying through us. Praying in the Spirit transcends language. It is declaring God's will with authority. It is prophesying life over dry bones, releasing rivers into deserts, calling heaven's order into earth's chaos. Behind every biblical victory stands a warrior of prayer. Abraham interceded, and Lot was delivered. Moses stood in the gap, and God relented from destroying Israel. David cried out, and giants fell. Daniel prayed 3 times a day, and God shut the lions' mouths. The early church prayed, and cities were shaken, miracles multiplied, and revival spread. Like fire, history's greatest movements are born on bent knees. Prayer is not weak. It is the detonator of heaven's power. When Elijah prayed, the skies closed and opened. When Joshua prayed, the sun stood still. When the widow prayed, the oil did not run dry. When Jesus prayed on the cross, the veil tore, and the way to the Father opened forever. God himself promises, "Call to me, and I will answer you, and show you great and unsearchable things you do not know." Prayer is the invitation into divine secrets, the key to unlocking what is hidden. Now more than ever, the world needs men and women of prayer, not spectators, but warriors. Prayer is not passive. It is where strategies of heaven are downloaded, where destinies are written, where the impossible becomes possible. Personal prayer transforms lives. Corporate prayer shakes cities. Persistent prayer births revival. Faith-filled prayer moves mountains. Prayer is not empty ritual. It is fire on the lips, a sword in the spirit, the key that opens heaven. When a child of God prays, hell trembles, angels move, and the kingdom advances. The power of prayer is not in the one who prays, but in the one who hears today. Heaven waits for a generation to rise and cry out, because the God who heard Abraham, Moses, Daniel, and Jesus still hears today.